Hello everyone again, this is LR Buxton and I'm pleased to welcome Baz Kannan to be interviewed this evening. Now I met Baz at a Birmingham Creatives event recently, it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was very struck by his confidence, his enthusiasm and the sheer range of material he's produced. Basically, Baz is a producer of digital art, music, video design, wedding events, film poster art, music artwork, digital photography. I mean, as I was just saying before we started, the range is remarkable, which is one of the reasons I thought it'd be very interesting to chat to you. My first question to you, Baz, is a sort of slightly general one, but and it is all on your very well laid out website at the front end. But when did you first become fascinated by the potential of artwork generally?
Yeah, definitely answered this. It started all the way back in secondary school when I was in year 7. So I first had exposure to Adobe Photoshop when I was in year 7, and my school was offering like enrichment program classes, which is like different activities you can take. And one of the classes that was offered was image manipulation and digital art using Adobe Photoshop. It was like CS2 or CS3, like a really old version at that time. Because we're talking back in 2009. This was, and I remember that the moment I walked into the first class, it just clicked straight away, and I became fascinated with Photoshop like very quickly. And I know once I finished the class, I literally went back home and was telling my parents I want to buy a copy of Adobe Photoshop so I can start practicing, start creating some stuff. And it became clear from that moment that this was something I want to explore more. And I just kept at it, watching countless tutorials, online courses on how to create like digital images. It originally just started off as a hobby, but it wasn't until later on I found that these skills are quite monetizable and there's actually demand for graphic design. So people need logos, they need artwork, posters, businesses need marketing material, and what started originally as a hobby, it's literally become something that's monetizable, and so many people are coming to me asking me to help them with various designs, so covers, artwork, logos, you name it. And it all started from that one moment in secondary school, which has changed the trajectory of my life.
Excellent. That actually does lead me on quite nicely to my second question, which is going to be obviously over the 8 years, how has your work changed as technology has developed?
Oh, definitely. I remember when I first started, my designs were not so great as you'd expect the first time you learn a skill. Like, I remember even the initial designs I made, it wasn't bad, but it definitely wasn't like professional. But then I found that as you keep practicing, as you keep working on it, you gradually get better. You learn what works and what doesn't work. And even with the technologies as well, like some of the features in Photoshop now compared to many years ago is completely different and even game changing. And one good example is that is the AI features in the Photoshop Creative Cloud now, as well as the generative fill. And it's really mind blowing just the results you can accomplish now compared to what you could back then. So as you level up and increase your skills, like you always find you're learning new things at the same time. And the biggest change would be the AI features and just using that to really just enhance your images. And in some ways, AI has actually made it easier compared to back then. One example as well, background removals. Back then, I'd have to manually do it, whereas now there's like literally features where you can just click a button and it automatically does it for you, and it saves so much time.
Yes, I've been I've been sort of looking at doing some of my own cover art. I know what you mean. It's the backgrounds, it's the fiddly bit, isn't it? Unless you doing that. I suppose as a follow up to that, one thing that's always intrigued me, in recent times, is in your work in particular. I think how do you combine the sort of the usefulness of AI with your own signature style? How do you keep that your work has got your signature on it? So you look at it and you go, well, that's something that I have done, while still using AI to make it easier to create and cut out some of the fiddly stuff, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. And even now, like I try to do everything manually where I can and just keep AI to a minimum or using sparingly. So yeah, for tedious tasks like background removals or the really boring stuff, I don't mind using AI for that. But when it comes to having a signature style, I try to manually do it myself where I can. And yeah, examples of style would be the use of colors, adjusting the highlights and the shadows, and different things like that, and really just showcasing like your brand colors. So my website, the color scheme is like black, white, and yellow. It's just trying to reflect that in my images to showcase like the colors. And yeah, I think it's definitely a balance between using AI as well as adding your own style and edits to it. And it's just trying to figure out what works for you. And it's going to be different for everybody. And to be honest, even on this journey, like it's taken me a while to figure out how exactly I want to portray my images. And I find like, yeah, you're always learning something new, and there's always refinements and tweaks to be made. And yeah, it's a journey, and embrace the process.
Next question I was going to ask is, your website lists a huge number of credits, including short films, web series, and fan films. And the other thing I noticed among that is this, as I say, the sheer diversity and range of styles. You know, everything from sort of almost Little Red Riding Hood style visuals. You know, with prominent use of sort of red in a sort of slightly sort of fantastical, sort of almost mythical way, to more sort of futuristic, sort of, you know, blues and whites against a black background and an almost superhero sort of style. Which is your, if you had to pick one, which would be your favourite style, and which is the images that you're most proud of, would you say?
Yeah, I think definitely my favorite ones have to be the Marvel style, and it's like that superhero, since
Yeah.
that's the kind of genre I'm in love with the most. And part of the reason why I choose Marvel over the other like genres and films is that what I've noticed about Marvel is their designs are quite complex and yeah, generally hard to recreate. And whilst it is challenging, I also see that as an opportunity for me to really stretch my limits, stretch my boundaries, and really just try and see how far I can go in the creation of digital artwork. And when you pull it off and when you accomplish the end result, like it makes you realize just how much you're capable of achieving, and it's usually a lot more than you think. Because initially, if someone was come to me and say, "Great, a Marvel poster," I'd be overwhelmed, thinking like, "What? There's no all these thoughts start coming in." But then it's when you actually do it, you start to realize, yeah, it's a lot more possible than you think, with some creative thinking and really just taking a step back and thinking, okay, breaking it down into logical steps I can take to try and recreate that. And yeah, I'd say the Marvel ones definitely, they're the ones I'm proud of, just because of the complexity required to recreate those images. And yeah, it's something I've been a huge fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe ever since Iron Man came out, and I just find it really fascinating by the creativity they come up with.
Yeah, it's you know, you keep hearing about, you know, all has the age of Marvel come to an end, because obviously things go in cycles. But I mean, when you look at the, you know, the numbers are, you know, they're also impressive year on year, aren't they? And you know, if you could produce something that connects with that many people, I mean, it'd just be, you know, if it's something you've got that natural enthusiasm for as well, then what could be better?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, there's so many films out there. But what impresses me the most is just how much detail, how much effort Marvel put into not only their storylines, but also their technical aspects, like the artwork, the visual effects. Like it's actually mind blowing just how many people are behind like all the magic we see. And I feel like Marvel definitely deserves more credit than what it's given, because making films generally is not easy, but making an entire cinematic universe, and that too on a scale where the CGI is like crazy good and almost makes you believe that this could be another world. Like, yeah, hats off to the entire Marvel team, because yeah, it's definitely not easy making any film, and to be able to pull something like that, and that too for so many years, it's really amazing.
Yeah, because CGI, when you look at something like, you know, when you look like a sort of like an old James Bond film, and you know, it was made in sort of late '90s or something, and you know, or other films, isn't it? When it's got one shot that they didn't quite manage to pull off, and it instantly dates the film, and yeah, to be at the cutting edge of technology when it just keeps developing. Um, and and sometimes they don't always get the credit they deserve, do they? Because it's almost like, well, a computer, lots of computers did that. You think, well, no, it's a lot more complex, and you know much better than myself. But yeah, they probably don't get the individual respect that they should get. So my next question, Baz, for your visuals, you have work relating to, I'll just give a list: portraits, scenery, products, events, and weddings. What, in your opinion, makes a great visual? And if I may, just before you answer, just say my personal favourite, I think, was the image of the plane flying over the tower at night. I thought that was just a wonderful shot.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say what makes a great photograph is just applying different principles from photography. So the framing, rule of thirds, the colors, the sharpness, the hue, saturation levels, and all these technical details. It's just paying attention and having that attention to detail. And with that plane flying over I believe it's a Shard in London. Like the original photo was in daytime, and I actually photoshopped it and color graded it to make it look like it was night. So the night sky is actually not real. And
I think it's the mix, isn't it, of drama and mystery you managed to get into these shots, isn't it? Because, as I say, you've got the girl in the red costume in the forest is. It sparks the imagination, and that's why I like that shot as well, because it had almost something. It could have been out of a Batman film or something, couldn't it? It had that sense of something's about to happen, and what is about to happen. I think it helps if you can do a shot like that. It must be such a wonderful skill, because I think it just draws people in. They're thinking about it. They're thinking they almost want to be in that, don't they?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And at least when I do photography, like I always like to tell a story or to showcase something that could happen as if it was a film. And because I come from a filmmaking background, I like to introduce like filmmaking, storytelling techniques in my photographs and digital artwork. And one thing I'd always like to do with any piece of work that involves like photography is creative storytelling, because people like a good story, and it's being able to convey that, and also giving models and people, some of them are my friends as well, the opportunity to be a part of something that's imaginative and creative, and it's just sparking people's imagination, like you say, and really just drawing them in.
So I've got a couple more questions. Firstly, because I wanted to just refresh my memory about it, because I've been thinking about it pretty much every day, and I just sort of want to nail down the details again. But among all of your stuff that you showed me when we met, all the pictures on your phone, which immediately got me thinking, this is a guy who knows what he's doing. You showed me that film trailer. So if you could tell us again about that film and explain it, because you're only telling me, the years of effort and care and attention that have gone into it, but how much effort does go into a work like that? And what I suppose what I was going to ask is, how do you even approach something like that with the knowledge of how much detail is required just to get that film made?
Yeah, definitely. So that film, I don't have any involvement in that particular film, but it's of someone I know, and shout out to Sanmu Films, for creating The Jungle. So that film is essentially about two rival gangs that are at war with each other in London, and I think what Sanmu wanted to do in that particular film was to stretch the boundaries of like independent filmmaking in the South Asian scene, and it took 8 years to create that film, because I know 2015, like he wanted to get off the ground, and it was tricky because not many people were doing films at the time, and I know
there was a pandemic, wasn't there? I mean, that must have pushed it back, mustn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. And even when I was growing up in school, like I knew I wanted to make films, but I didn't know many people who wanted to do it or who were on the same wavelength. So yeah, I think timing definitely played a role. And also after the pandemic as well, since you mentioned the pandemic, like there's a lot more people getting involved in films. Even in Birmingham, like there's a film community that's growing. Real Brum Producers Forum, to name a few, and especially London as well. Like there's a lot more people doing creative stuff. And I think with that networking aspect, Sanmu was able to bring together a group of like-minded individuals to help with the music, the technical aspects of filmmaking, and hats off to the crew for making The Jungle. Like it's truly an amazing piece of work in the independent scene, and it's actually inspired me on my journey as well to be able to create a film like that. on that scale.
Well, I mean, it's literally been going on as long as you've been learning your craft, isn't it? I mean, and the thing is, it was things that, the choreography and the attention to, the impact of the colours in the scenes for the trailer. It was very striking. And, these things don't just happen by chance, do they? These require, it's a hell of a process. Final question then, Baz. You mentioned about filmmaking being your driving force. So, if I gave you a sort of limitless budget, limitless time to create your perfect film, what would be your dream project? What would you create, and what sort of impact would you like it to have?
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting you asked this because I'm actually in the process of trying to make a feature film and get it off the ground as well. And one thing I've always liked growing up is action, thriller films, any film with like visual effects or CGI, really just to spark imagination, showcase that creativity. And really, it's all about taking risks and trying to push the boundaries, innovate in the filmmaking space, and really just inspire other filmmakers to be able to tell the stories they want without feeling like they're limited with budgets and whatnot. So yeah, in terms of a perfect film, so this film is about it's a gangster hangout film, and it's about two gangs. They're at war with each other, and I've also taken some inspiration from Romeo and Juliet, since one of the gang members falls in love with the gang member from the opposite gang, and basically live happily ever after, and also showcasing some action scenes with guns. And my friend Daniel, shout out to Daniel Shakespeare. He's written quite a few good scripts. It's good
So
work.
basically, almost sort of West Side Story meets a bit of sort of London gang culture. And when are you planning to have that finished by then, Baz?
It's still early days, so it's hard to say for sure. But generally, I'll just work on the film until it's ready, basically. So the answer is I don't know when it's going to come out, but yeah, the main thing is hoping to get the ball rolling and really just try and bring my skill set in, as well as trying to bring the talent of other like-minded filmmakers, and just creating something amazing in the independent filmmaking scene. And that's the aim, really, to try and utilize the resources we already have to tell the stories we love to share.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Baz. I enjoyed interviewing you, and I hope everyone has enjoyed learning more about your very specific skill set. Like and subscribe, obviously, to anyone who enjoyed this video. Tell everybody, hopefully they will do the same. I'll be putting a link up for Baz's website, and please go and check out his website, because it is very well laid out, and it's just, as I say, it's like walking through it's almost like a hall of mirrors, but in a good way, and that you keep seeing sort of things in there, and you weren't expecting new types of art and creativity. It's just coming from all over the place. It's very well set out, and it's very, very talented chap. Thanks again, and see you soon.
Yeah, thank you very much.